Coco Gauff just dropped a statement about Alex Eala that caught the entire tennis world off guard. After retiring from their Indian Wells match, Gauff sat down with reporters and admitted something most top players would never openly say about someone ranked below them. She essentially acknowledged that, under the current conditions at Indian Wells, Eala is performing at the highest level on the court. This is a huge endorsement coming from Gauff, and it's definitely putting the spotlight on Eala as a serious contender. Now the big question: can Eala ride this momentum all the way to winning the tournament, or is the remaining competition just too tough? Drop your predictions in the comments. Let's break down exactly what happened, what Gauff said, and why her words carry so much weight beyond a simple post-match compliment. Coco Gauff, currently world number 4 and a 2-time Grand Slam champion, is one of the most accomplished active players on the WTA Tour. She's been at the top of women's tennis for years, facing every type of opponent in every kind of condition and on every stage the sport offers. So when someone like her sits down after a match and says that another player is the best at a tournament, that's not just a casual comment. It's a genuine assessment from someone with the experience, skill, and competitive insight to know exactly what she's saying and why it matters.
Look at that subscribe number. It's just gone over 7 times in the last few minutes. For those of you just tuning in, by the way, wondering what is happening between Alex Eala and Coco Gauff, well, Eala has prevailed. She is through to play Linda Noskova in the next round. Did they play twice? Did they? Coco Gauff retired, by the way, with a right arm injury, but at the time, she was being blown off the court by Alex Eala. Alex won 8 of their 10 games. She was up 6-2, 2-love at the time of retirement.
What Coco Gauff said about Alex Eala after their Indian Wells match was a clear acknowledgement of Eala's talent. Gauff highlighted how the slower courts in Indian Wells played perfectly into Eala's style, praising her ability to adapt quickly to the conditions. She noted the longer points, the higher physical demands, and how Eala handled all of it better than anyone else in the tournament. In Gauff's eyes, Eala was simply the best player in those specific conditions, a huge compliment coming from someone of Gauff's caliber. But before diving deeper into Gauff's comments, it's important to put the match itself into context, because the results alone were already one of the most striking moments at Indian Wells this year.
Today coming in, what's the part of your game that you kept going back to?
Honestly, I had a similar match at French Open last year, so I brought that mindset today of just trying to, whenever you guys were cheering for Alex, I was pretending that it was my name, and I think that it, it helped me a lot. So if you can't beat them, you gotta join them. So.
2 weeks before Indian Wells, Coco Gauff and Alex Eala had faced off at the Dubai Tennis Championships, where Gauff completely dominated, winning 6-0, 6-2. That match was one-sided from start to finish. Gauff controlled every aspect, and Eala had no answer. The scoreline highlighted the clear gap between them at that time. So, when the Indian Wells draw paired them again in the third round, most people expected the same outcome, Gauff winning comfortably, likely by a similar margin, and Eala's tournament run ending there. But Indian Wells played out very differently. From the opening game, Eala showed increased intensity and aggression, clearly raising her level. Meanwhile, Gauff was visibly struggling with a physical issue that would eventually force her to retire. Her struggles were immediate: 7 double faults in the first set, a first serve percentage dropping to just 44%, numbers that are unworkable at the top level. Gauff even called the trainer for her left shoulder and arm during the match. Through it all, Eala kept pressing, attacking, and consistently breaking Gauff's serve, making the 6-2 first set score feel inevitable. The second set started in the same pattern. Eala held serve and broke Gauff in the opening game, leading 2-0. At that point, the match was clearly moving in Eala's favor. Gauff then walked to the net and retired, apologizing to Eala and expressing how much she hated having to do it. In her post-match press conference, Gauff explained that the retirement was purely due to physical necessity. She described the pain in her arm as feeling like a firework going off, with her entire arm on fire, possibly nerve-related. It was not a tactical choice or an attempt to avoid defeat. Eala had earned her position as the superior player under those conditions. Gauff's description leaves zero room for debate. She was genuinely in pain, and retiring was the only choice her body allowed. Naturally, whenever a top player retires, people wonder how much credit the opponent really deserves. This is where Gauff's comments become extraordinary. She directly and generously acknowledges Eala's performance. She said she felt bad about having to retire specifically because of how well Eala was playing, and that she didn't want to take anything away from her opponent. Gauff even said she would have preferred to finish the match and lose 6-0 rather than retire, because Eala was going to win regardless. For a two-time Grand Slam champion, world number 4, to say this about a player ranked 31st in the world is remarkable. It's a complete and genuine endorsement. Gauff wasn't just being gracious, she was being honest. She spent 55 minutes watching Eala dominate and left with a clear assessment. This player was better than me today.
Yeah, I was a bit stunned as well. Like Coco, I went and sit in the crowd. I got a ticket. It was the first time I had to scan a ticket to enter a tennis match in a long time.
We have a suite here.
Yeah, but I didn't. I wanted to, I wanted to be a part of it. I wanted to be with the fans.
That's the difference between you and I. I was sweet life in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was scanning it in like everyone else. So I was super excited. Coco got off to a good start, but then you started to see her making this movement that made me think that something was wrong with her back. She was kind of doing a stretch with her left arm, left wrist, but I initially thought it was a back issue. She continued to try to fight through, called the trainer at 5-2 in the first, and then a lot of worry started to echo around the stadium. You could sense that something was up. You got to give Alex a lot of credit, though, because it is never easy. We're going to talk about it later with Lerner Tien, but never easy to play an opponent who is injured. And the way that she was able to put her head down and only focus on her side of the court, I think was a very mature thing to do.
Gauff then went deeper into why Eala had the edge, and this is where the tactical details get interesting. She highlighted the slow conditions at Indian Wells, noting that the courts make it very difficult to hit outright winners. Points are longer, rallies are more physical, and the game demands movement, positioning, and sustained pressure rather than the quick, explosive points seen on faster surfaces. In these conditions, Gauff said, Eala was simply the best player at the tournament. She pointed out Eala's quickness, her ability to reach difficult balls and recover position quickly, crucial when points run long and every ball must be tracked down. She praised Eala's creativity and unconventional shot selection, which forces opponents to adapt to something unpredictable. Finally, she noted that Eala's adjustment to the conditions was faster and more complete than anything Gauff could manage that day. In short, Gauff recognized Eala's full mastery of the environment, strategy, and execution, an acknowledgement that carries enormous weight coming from a player of her caliber. Now, looking at the bigger picture, Eala's performance at Indian Wells isn't just turning heads, it's generating genuine recognition from the established stars on tour. Gauff's praise is huge, but she's far from the only one impressed. Former professional Sam Querrey has also publicly highlighted Eala's impact, predicting she could surpass even Gauff and Aryna Sabalenka in terms of global profile and influence on the sport. Querrey compared the energy around her matches to what Carlos Alcaraz generated during his breakout runs on the men's tour, the sense that something special is happening every time she steps on court, drawing fans who are willing to go out of their way just to watch her play. The numbers back that hype. Eala's very first match at Indian Wells generated over $5 million in ticket sales, setting a new attendance record at the tournament. That's not what you typically see from a player still outside her home country's spotlight. That's the kind of figure associated with a true global draw, a player whose matches become events rather than just games. And yet, Eala is still ranked 31st in the world, meaning her competitive profile is already far ahead of her ranking, and that gap is closing fast. Every strong result at a WTA 1000 event like Indian Wells accelerates that trajectory, with ranking points that push her higher with every round. A deep run to the title could produce a dramatic leap, cementing her as a legitimate fixture in the conversations about the world's best players, rather than just an exciting young talent on the rise. Jessica Pegula has also weighed in, echoing the sentiment that top players are taking Eala seriously.
Pegula described the atmosphere around Eala's matches as unmatched on the tour right now, highlighting how her presence alone can transform a crowd. All of this shows that Eala isn't just performing well, she's starting to change the way the tennis world experiences a tournament, and the respect from both her peers and former pros signals just how high her ceiling really is.
The Filipino fan base has been a massive part of Alex Eala's rise, traveling across the globe to support her and turning tournament venues into something that feels like home courts. Jessica Pegula highlighted that energy, saying it's genuinely something to experience, even from the other side of the net. This kind of cross-cultural, international fan support is rare in tennis. While the sport has seen players with huge national followings, Filipino fans for Eala bring that passion everywhere: the Middle East, US, Europe, wherever she competes. Flags wave, voices roar, and the atmosphere of an entire tournament shifts around her presence, not just a single match. Eala herself was characteristically balanced in her post-match interview after the Indian Wells win. She made it clear she didn't want to win the way the match ended, showing genuine concern for Gauff and checking on her at the net before doing anything else. Yet, she also recognized the moment as a huge milestone for her, playing on Stadium 1 at Indian Wells, advancing to the round of 16, and continuing a run that is shaping up to be one of the tournament's most exciting stories. She held both feelings at once: compassion for her opponent and pride in her own performance. That combination of competitive excellence and human warmth is what makes Eala compelling beyond just her tennis. She wins important matches, stands at the microphone, talks about her opponent with respect, her mother with love, and her country with pride. At just 20 years old, she operates on one of the sport's biggest stages with the composure and clarity of someone seasoned by years of experience. Next up is the round of 16 against Linda Noskova, ranked 14th in the world, a powerful and experienced opponent who got to this stage through tough three-set matches. It won't be easy, but Eala enters with massive endorsements. Gauff, the world number 4, called her the best player at Indian Wells right now. Sam Querrey predicted she could surpass Gauff and Aranina Sabalenka in impact. She just set a $5 million ticket sales record for a single match, and she's still ranked 31st in the world. Everything we've seen over the past week points to the same conclusion. Alex Eala is doing something truly special right now. The results, the endorsements, the fan energy, and her composure all confirm it. If you're watching this happen, make sure to hit like and subscribe. You don't want to miss the next chapter in what's shaping up to be a historic run for Eala.